Ego is one of the biggest barriers to personal growth. It's invisible, yet it has the power to control your life if you let it. Muniba Mazari often says, ego is the loudest enemy within you. It whispers that you already know enough, that you don't need to change, that you're better than others. But that's where true failure begins. Not when life knocks you down, but when your ego convinces you that you've already reached the top. The moment you stop being a student of life, you stop growing. Ego blinds you from reality. It makes you focus so much on being right that you forget to be better. It feeds off praise, but it fears criticism. It makes you crave validation instead of understanding. You start chasing approval instead of purpose. And slowly, without realizing it, you build walls around yourself, walls that keep wisdom, growth, and love out. Muniba's life teaches us that no matter how much we achieve, there's always something more to learn, someone new to learn from, and something deeper to understand. Before her accident, Muniba admits that she used to care a lot about external success, beauty, appearances, social approval. But when life stripped all that away, she was forced to face herself, the person behind the titles, behind the mirror. And that's when she realized that ego doesn't make you strong, it makes you fragile. Because when your worth depends on what others think, you'll crumble the moment they stop praising you. Real strength comes from humility, from knowing that you are constantly evolving and that learning never ends. Ego thrives on comparison. It makes you look at others and think, I'm better than them, or why are they ahead of me? But every time you compare yourself to someone else, you rob yourself of peace. Muniba often says, the only person you should compete with is the person you were yesterday. When you kill your ego, you stop needing to prove yourself. You start focusing on progress, not perfection. On becoming your best self, not the best of all. Growth requires openness. It requires listening, even when your pride wants to speak. It means admitting that you don't know everything and being okay with that. The most powerful people in the world are not the ones who always talk. They are the ones who listen, learn, and apply. Ego makes you defensive when someone corrects you. But humility allows you to take that feedback and use it to grow. Muniba's journey is a testament to this truth. She learned to accept advice, criticism, and lessons with grace. And that's why she continues to evolve, not only as an artist or speaker, but as a human being. Killing your ego doesn't mean lowering your self-worth. It means elevating your self-awareness. It's about seeing yourself clearly. Your strengths, your flaws, your potential. It's saying, I'm proud of who I am, but I'm still learning. That mindset turns every challenge into an opportunity and every failure into a lesson. Ego says, I'm already good enough. Humility says, I can always be better. One limits you, the other frees you. Ego also blocks connection. When your ego leads, you struggle to empathize. You start believing that your story, your pain, or your perspective matters more than anyone else's. But life is not a competition of suffering or success. It's a shared journey of growth. Muniba often reminds people that real success lies in connection, in understanding others, in learning from their stories, in lifting them up instead of standing above them. That kind of empathy only grows when ego dies. And here's the truth. Life has a way of humbling all of us. Challenges, failures, losses, they remind us that control is an illusion. The sooner you accept that, the freer you become. Muniba's accident could have filled her with bitterness, but instead it taught her humility. The kind that says, I don't control everything, but I can control how I respond. That shift in mindset transformed her pain into purpose. So, if you want to win in life, start by killing your ego. Learn to listen, admit when you're wrong, celebrate others without feeling threatened. Be open to new ideas, even if they challenge what you believe. The strongest people aren't the ones who always win arguments. They're the ones who win over their ego. Muniba Mazari's story teaches us that humility is not weakness, it's wisdom. Ego may make you look strong for a moment, but humility keeps you strong for a lifetime. So stay teachable, stay grounded, and remember, the more you let go of ego, the more space you create for growth, peace, and true success. Humility is one of the most beautiful qualities a person can have. It doesn't mean you see yourself as less. It means you understand that no matter how far you've come, there's always room to grow. Muniba Mazari often says, "Humility opens doors that ego will always keep closed." And she's right, because people are drawn to humility, but they turn away from arrogance. A humble heart creates connection, while a proud one creates distance. Ego is loud. It wants attention, validation, and control. It makes you think you're self-sufficient, that you don't need anyone, that you've earned everything on your own. But humility reminds you that no one achieves greatness alone. Behind every success, there are countless hands that helped, supported, and guided you. Muniba often expresses deep gratitude toward her family, her friends, her mentors, and even her critics. She knows that each of them played a part in shaping her into who she is. That's what humility does. It acknowledges that you're part of something bigger than yourself. Humility also creates space for growth. When you're humble, you listen, truly listen. You learn from others instead of competing with them. You accept that wisdom can come from anyone, a child, a stranger, even someone who disagrees with you. Ego says, "I already know." Humility says, "I'm still learning." And it's in that openness that transformation happens. Muniba's journey is a reflection of this mindset. She didn't become the Iron Lady of Pakistan by pretending to know everything. She became who she is by being willing to learn, to evolve, and to let life teach her. Humility is not about lowering yourself, it's about lifting others. Ego wants to shine alone, but humility finds joy in helping others rise too. When you operate from a humble place, your success becomes a source of inspiration, not intimidation. Muniba's light shines because she shares it freely. She doesn't compete, she contributes. That's the difference humility makes. It turns success from a solo race into a shared journey. Ego can close doors that humility can easily open. Think about it. People naturally gravitate toward those who are genuine, kind, and approachable. No one wants to follow someone who believes they're always right. In leadership, friendship, and even love, humility builds trust. It tells others, "I see you, I value you, I respect you." And in return, people open up, cooperate, and connect more deeply. Muniba's humility has made her a global voice, not because she demands respect, but because she earns it through her authenticity and warmth. Sometimes we confuse humility with weakness, but that couldn't be further from the truth. It takes incredible strength to admit your mistakes, to say, "I don't know," or to celebrate someone else's success. Ego resists that, humility embraces it. When you're humble, you don't need to prove your worth. Your actions do that for you. Muniba reminds us that humility doesn't mean you think less of yourself. It means you think of yourself less and others more. That's what true greatness looks like. Serving without seeking recognition, giving without expecting return. Humility also protects you from pride's downfall. Life has a way of humbling everyone at some point. The higher your ego climbs, the harder the fall. But when you live humbly, you stay grounded no matter how high you rise. Muniba's fame never changed her humility. If anything, it deepened it. Because she knows that everything can change in a moment, and the only thing that truly lasts is your character. When you practice humility, you become more peaceful. You stop taking things personally. You stop trying to prove your value in every room. You realize that your worth isn't measured by comparison, applause, or status. It's measured by kindness, empathy, and authenticity. Muniba's message to the world is clear: humility doesn't make you small, it makes you limitless. So if you want to win in life, don't chase validation, chase humility. Let go of the need to always be right. Listen more. Speak with kindness. Acknowledge those who help you along the way. Success achieved with humility lasts because it's rooted in gratitude and grace. Ego may get you noticed, but humility will make you remembered. Muniba Mazari's life teaches us that humility is not a weakness. It's wisdom in its purest form. It opens hearts, builds bridges, and creates impact that outlives fame. So stay grounded no matter how high you rise, and remember, the most powerful people are those who can bow their heads in gratitude even when the world stands to applaud them. Pain has two paths. One leads to pride, and the other leads to power. The difference between the two lies in how you respond to it. When ego takes control, pain becomes a wall. It makes you bitter, defensive, and distant. But when humility takes over, pain becomes a bridge to growth, strength, and empathy. Muniba Mazari's life is a living example of how humility can turn even the darkest pain into radiant power. Ego hates vulnerability. It says, "Don't show weakness. Don't let anyone see you struggle." It convinces you that being strong means never falling apart. But that's not strength. That's fear disguised as pride. Real strength comes from accepting your pain, embracing it, and transforming it into purpose. Muniba often says, "You cannot heal what you refuse to feel." When her life changed forever after the accident, she could have chosen pride. She could have hidden away, let her pain turn into anger, or refused to accept help. But she didn't. She chose humility. She accepted her new reality, learned to see beauty in brokenness, and decided that her story would inspire others rather than define her limits. Ego makes you hide your scars, but humility teaches you to wear them like armor. Every scar tells a story, not of defeat, but of survival. When you share your pain, you don't look weak. You give others permission to be human too. That's what Muniba did. She stood in front of the world and said, "Yes, I fell, but I rose stronger." Her humility turned personal pain into collective hope. She became a mirror for millions, reflecting resilience instead of regret. When you let go of ego, you stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What can I learn from this?" Ego wants to control outcomes, humility learns from them. Pain, when embraced with humility, becomes a teacher. It shows you your strength, your patience, and your capacity to grow beyond what you thought possible. Muniba's humility allowed her to see that her wheelchair was not a symbol of weakness, but a throne of strength. She often says, "I may not be able to walk, but I can still move hearts." That's what happens when pain transforms into purpose. You no longer see what you've lost, you see what you've gained. Ego turns pain inward. It makes you build walls to protect yourself, but those same walls keep love and healing out. Humility, on the other hand, opens you up. It lets you feel, express, and connect. When you share your story with humility, you not only heal yourself but also help others heal. Muniba's humility made her pain meaningful. Her story touches people across the world not because it's perfect, but because it's real. That's the power of humility. It gives authenticity to your struggle and purpose to your scars. There's another beautiful truth here. Humility allows you to forgive, not because others deserve forgiveness, but because you deserve peace. Ego holds on to anger, using it as armor against pain. But humility teaches you that letting go isn't weakness, it's liberation. Muniba forgave life for being unfair. She forgave circumstances for breaking her body because she knew that bitterness would only break her spirit. And that forgiveness became her freedom. When you face pain with humility, you stop seeing it as punishment and start seeing it as preparation. Every challenge becomes a lesson. Every setback becomes an awakening. You realize that pain doesn't destroy you. Your resistance to it does. Humility helps you surrender, not in defeat, but in acceptance. And in that acceptance, you find your power. Muniba Mazari's message is clear: your pain can either make you proud or make you powerful. If ego leads, you'll wear your pain like a mask, pretending you're fine. But if humility leads, you'll turn your pain into purpose, inspiring others to do the same. Ego wants to impress, humility wants to impact. So when life hurts, and it will, don't let ego harden you. Let humility soften you. Cry, learn, heal, and rise. Remember, broken crayons still color beautifully, and your scars are proof that you were strong enough to survive what was meant to destroy you. Muniba once said, "When you accept your pain, it loses power over you." And that's the truth. Humility doesn't just help you survive pain, it helps you transform it into something extraordinary. Because only when you kneel before your pain can you truly rise above it. Confidence and ego are often mistaken for the same thing, but in truth, they couldn't be more different. Ego is loud, insecure, and fragile. It demands attention to feel worthy. Confidence, on the other hand, is quiet, grounded, and deeply rooted in self-awareness. Muniba Mazari's life beautifully illustrates this difference. She doesn't shout to prove her worth, her presence, her authenticity, and her courage speak louder than words ever could. True confidence isn't about convincing others of your value. It's about knowing your value, even when no one is watching. Ego says, "I am better than others." Confidence says, "I am enough." And that one shift changes everything. Ego constantly compares, competes, and criticizes. It thrives on external validation, applause, attention, recognition. The moment that attention fades, ego crumbles. But confidence doesn't depend on approval. It stands firm because it comes from within. Muniba teaches that when you know who you are and what you stand for, you no longer need to prove it to anyone. That's what makes confidence so powerful. It's independent of praise. Ego often disguises itself as confidence. It talks big, but it's afraid of silence. It loves control, but it's terrified of being wrong. It demands respect, but it rarely gives it. Confidence, however, is humble. It doesn't need to dominate to feel strong. It allows you to acknowledge others' strengths without feeling threatened. Muniba Mazari embodies this kind of quiet confidence, the kind that lifts others up instead of pushing them down. She celebrates people's victories, shares their stories, and reminds everyone that true confidence is not built by comparison, but by compassion. When you let go of ego, you make room for genuine confidence to grow. You stop chasing validation and start chasing purpose. Ego feeds on how things look. Confidence focuses on how things feel. Ego wants to impress, confidence wants to express. Muniba's journey wasn't about looking strong, it was about being strong. After her accident, she could have let ego dictate her life, hiding her vulnerability behind a mask of false strength. But instead, she embraced humility, and that gave birth to unshakable confidence, the kind that says, "I may not walk, but I will soar." Real confidence comes from self-acceptance. It's knowing your flaws, your limits, your imperfections, and embracing them fully. Ego hides behind perfection. Confidence shines through authenticity. Muniba often reminds us that beauty doesn't come from symmetry or status. It comes from the courage to show up as your true self. The more honest you are about who you are, the more confident you become. Because you no longer live in fear of being exposed. You've already accepted yourself completely. Ego tells you that asking for help makes you weak. Confidence tells you that asking for help makes you wise. Ego isolates you because it can't stand vulnerability. Confidence connects you because it knows the power of collaboration. Muniba's success is rooted in that understanding, that we rise higher when we rise together. She doesn't claim to be perfect or invincible. She openly talks about her struggles, her doubts, and her pain, and that honesty is exactly what makes her strong. Confidence isn't about walking into a room and thinking you're better than everyone else. It's about walking in and not having to compare yourself at all. It's peace. It's balance. It's knowing that your worth doesn't increase with praise or decrease with criticism. When you kill your ego, that kind of peace becomes your foundation. And from that foundation, true success grows, not built on arrogance, but on authenticity. Ego is fragile because it depends on others to survive. Confidence is unbreakable because it depends only on truth. The moment you stop pretending, stop performing, and start living as your authentic self, you gain a strength that no one can take from you. That's the kind of power Muniba radiates. Calm, graceful, unstoppable. So, if you want to build real confidence, start by letting go of ego. Stop needing to prove, impress, or dominate. Instead, focus on becoming someone who inspires through authenticity. Speak less, listen more. Compete less, contribute more. Let your presence speak for itself. Muniba Mazari's life teaches that confidence doesn't roar. It glows. It's not about being above others. It's about being at peace with yourself. Ego will make you loud for a moment, but confidence will make you strong for a lifetime. When you kill your ego, you don't lose your power, you discover it. Ego is one of the greatest destroyers of relationships, whether it's in family, friendship, love, or teamwork. It builds invisible walls that separate hearts, while humility builds bridges that connect them. Muniba Mazari often says, "You don't lose people when you're humble. You lose your ego when you choose love over pride." And that is the truth. Relationships are not destroyed by distance or differences. They're destroyed by ego, the need to always be right, to always win, to always prove. Ego turns every disagreement into a battlefield. It doesn't care about peace, it only cares about victory. But what's the point of winning an argument if you lose the person in the process? Humility teaches us to choose understanding over ego, compassion over stubbornness. Muniba's message is powerful. It's better to be kind than to be right, because kindness builds trust, while ego breeds resentment. In every relationship, there will be moments when you have to decide, do you want to feed your ego or nurture your bond? Ego makes you defensive, humility makes you reflective. Ego says, I'm not wrong. Humility says, maybe I can see this differently. Ego blocks communication, humility opens it. Muniba often reminds us that when you kill your ego, you give love room to grow. Because love cannot breathe where pride dominates. Ego demands recognition. It wants to be praised, validated, and admired. But real relationships aren't about who gives credit. They're about who gives effort. When you're humble, you don't need constant appreciation. You give freely without keeping score. You understand that love isn't a transaction, it's a contribution. Muniba's life reflects this truth. She leads with empathy, not expectation. Her humility allows her to connect deeply with others because she listens more than she speaks, and she values connection over control. Ego also keeps you from saying the two most powerful healing words. I'm sorry. How many relationships could be saved if people just learned to apologize sincerely? Ego stops you because it tells you that saying sorry means you're weak. But in reality, it's the opposite. It takes immense strength to admit you're wrong, to own your mistakes, to prioritize peace over pride. Muniba teaches that apology doesn't reduce your worth, it increases your humanity. When you have the humility to apologize, you heal not just the relationship, you heal yourself. Humility also allows forgiveness to flow. Ego clings to anger. It feeds on grudges. It says, they don't deserve my forgiveness. But forgiveness isn't about them. It's about you. It frees you from bitterness. It gives you emotional peace. Muniba's journey has shown that forgiving others, even those who've hurt you deeply, is the ultimate sign of strength. She reminds us that you cannot carry both ego and peace. You must choose one. Ego loves to talk, but humility listens. Ego interrupts, assumes, and reacts. Humility pauses, understands, and responds. When you listen with humility, you hear more than words. You hear hearts. You begin to see things from the other person's perspective, and that's when healing begins. Relationships don't need perfection, they need patience, compassion, all of which ego destroys and humility protects. Ego isolates, humility unites. Ego says, I don't need anyone. But the truth is, we all need someone. No matter how independent or strong you are, life becomes meaningful when it's shared. Muniba often speaks about the power of empathy, how seeing others, hearing others, and valuing others brings true fulfillment. When you let go of ego, you become more open, more compassionate, more human. So many people lose love because they can't let go of pride. They choose silence over communication, distance over vulnerability. But real strength lies in humility, in the courage to speak with softness, to forgive with grace, and to love without fear. Muniba Mazari's message reminds us that winning in life isn't about standing above others. It's about standing beside them. Ego may make you feel powerful for a moment, but it leaves you lonely in the end. Humility may feel hard at first, but it builds lasting peace. So, if you truly want to win in life, in love, in friendship, in every human connection, kill your ego. Say sorry first, listen longer, love louder. Because no heart ever broke from humility, but many have shattered from pride. Muniba's words echo this truth. Let go of your ego, and you'll find that love, peace, and connection were waiting for you all along. And that's how you truly win. Not by defeating others, but by defeating the pride within yourself.